This flavor-packed pumpkin rice and succulent stewed lamb is ideal for any day of the week, a leisurely weekend feast, or a standout addition to your festive holiday table. If you're interested in learning to make this combo, let's start cooking! Here are the ingredients you'll need for the pumpkin rice. 1 pound cube pumpkin. I have 1 baby carrot, 1 chopped pimento, thyme, scallions, and a couple of cloves of garlic. 1 onion chopped and a hot pepper. Chopped pimento pepper from my freezer. Watch for substitutions. A can of coconut milk. Heat on high. To start, we'll adjust later on. A medium non-stick pot will work best. Add a couple of tablespoons of oil. I'll add the onion. I'll give it a stir. The heat is now low because the pot was very hot. I'm going to cook until the edges become brown. It will take a couple of minutes. It's becoming quiet, so I'm going to raise the heat to medium. Listen for the sounds. After 2 minutes, I'll add the scallion and garlic. This is about 3 scallions and 3 cloves of garlic. I'll stir and cook for 1 minute. It's becoming very aromatic. The onion is becoming translucent. If you don't have scallion, but you have green seasoning in your refrigerator, you can use a tablespoon or 2. But remember, green seasoning is a combination of scallion, garlic, onions, and thyme. We're just putting all those ingredients separately today instead of using the green seasoning. But if you have the green seasoning, you can always add for additional flavor, but not too much. You don't want to overpower the dish with green seasoning. While that's cooking and the heat is on medium, watch it carefully. If it begins to brown too quickly, reduce the heat to low. I washed this can and I'm going to pour this out into the water. I should have shaken it a little bit, but let's see. A can of coconut milk is usually about 2 cups. I had a cup of water there, so this is about 2 3/4 cups of coconut milk mixture. I'm just going to give it a stir and keep it aside. As you can see, the brown bits are forming, and that's real flavor developing there. Now I'll add in my pumpkin and carrot. Again, this is frozen defrosted pumpkin. I'm using that. I'm going to just drain out that water and come back. Okay, I drained out the water from the pumpkin because I don't want it to steam. I want it to fry up to develop the flavor. 1 pound of pumpkin, 1 baby carrot, and 1 pimento pepper. You can use bell pepper if you don't have. Pimento pepper is very difficult to source. Give it a stir. Raising the heat to high. Why? Again, because I don't want it to steam. I want it to fry up a little bit in there. I'm not too sure how this pumpkin is going to melt, so we will see. We'll adjust as we go on. And also feel free to use fresh pumpkin. To save on time, I'm using frozen pumpkin. I'll cook that for 3 minutes. I'm adding chopped pimento pepper for flavor. If you don't have chopped pimento, as I said, use red bell pepper. Set the timer for 3 minutes, please.
Starting the timer for 3 minutes.
While that's cooking, I'll rinse the rice. This is 2½ cups of rice, and I'm saving the water for the plants. Let me know if you'd like to see my plants. They bring me so much joy. So I'll rinse this until the water runs clear, and then we'll add it to the pumpkin. Shouldn't take more than a minute or two. Three minutes is up. It smells absolutely wonderful. It looks amazing. I love all the different colors. We're eating the rainbow. It's healthy. It's going to be healthy and flavorful. Now we'll add the rice. This is 2.5 cups of jasmine rice. I'll add that in. Give it a good stir. You could adjust the ratio of pumpkin to rice based on your personal preference. I'm going to cook this for 2 minutes. The heat is on high. I want the rice to toast just a little, but at the same time I'm not going to stir too much to break up the rice grains unless you like mushy rice, and some people do. I like it in between shelly or grainy and mushy, so somewhere in between. I'll allow this to cook for 2 minutes and then I'll see you for the next step. Even though I said 2 minutes, if it's beginning to burn or stick, you proceed to the next step and adjust your flame. If it's on high and it's getting brown at the bottom, just reduce the heat to low or medium. When I say the temperature, it's just for guidance. You will have to adjust that temperature based on what's happening in your pot at that time. So I have 2.5 cups of rice here. I usually do 1.5 times per cup, 1.5 cups of liquid per cup of rice. So 2.5 times 1.5. You can do that on your calculator. It's 3 3/4. I place the coconut milk in the cup along with the liquid to make up 3.5 to 3 3/4 of liquid. If you don't like it too mushy, you can reduce the liquid, the coconut milk. And if that's too confusing, let me know in the comment section below and I'll try to explain it to you. So now I've added the coconut milk, a whole can. It's going to be very coconutty. Now we'll add the thyme in. The thyme in the garden has gone to flowers. It's beginning to flowers. What the hell? The thyme in the garden is flowering, but we can still use it. So I'll place that in, along with a whole pepper, hot pepper. We're not going to burst it, so we're not going to get the heat. If you like the heat, you can burst it later on, or you can add pieces of pepper along with the onion in the beginning of the cooking process. So I'm going to bring this to boil. This is going to take about 3 minutes. The heat is on medium. We're going to bring this to boil and then we'll cover it and cook for 15 to 20 minutes or until your desired, oops, we didn't add salt, hold on. We're starting with 2 teaspoons of salt. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir it and I'm going to taste it. Stir it in properly, thoroughly, and it's okay to taste it. It must taste a little salty at this point, but not too salty. Alright, I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper. It's just a habit we have of adding black pepper. You can add white pepper if you wish, so that's about half a teaspoon. And because it's the weekend, we're adding 2 tablespoons of good quality butter. Always buy the best quality butter you can afford. You're going to give it a stir. The heat is on medium. It's coming up to a bubble. Once the rice grains start to appear on the top, we will lower the heat and I'm going to move it to the smallest burner on my stove. We cannot keep it on the medium or the highest burner because it's going to become mushy. We need low and slow. So see you back in a couple of minutes. I'm adding a half teaspoon of my adobo blend. It's going to give it a yellow turmeric color and a little bit of flavor. So it's been about 3 minutes. You can add that earlier on. It was just an afterthought. It's not too yellow, so I'm going to add another half a teaspoon. Nothing wrong with a little extra turmeric in our life. And I'm going to move it to the back burner. Lovely sounds, amazing smell, delicious flavor. Taking off the heat here, and I'm going to push it to the back. It's now on low at the back burner, and I'm going to cover. Took me 2 minutes to find this cover, and it was right behind me. So it's on low, and I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes. Hi Bixby. Set the timer for 20 minutes, please.
Timer 05 for 20 minutes, starting now.
Thank you, Bisbee. Thank you, Bixby. Now let's cook some stewed lamb. I'm going to make a quick stewed lamb with Australian lamb loin chop. This is 1.265, 15.17, and this is 1.25, 14.99. It's going to be very quick, very small meal. The timer has gone off. I'm just going to take off the flame and allow it to sit for 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll check on it. So I have this soaking in some lime and vinegar. And this, my husband bought it to grill probably, but it has a bone. So I believe it will, it's my opinion, that it will benefit, the flavor will be greater if we stewed it. So I'm just going to stew it. It's been very difficult to get boneless lamb at BJ's for the past maybe month or two. So we're going to stew this. I'm going to leave the fat on. Just going to rinse it a couple of times, leave the fat on, and stew it like this, like a chunky stew. The Caribbean stew is a good opportunity to use up whatever you have in the refrigerator. I have this pepper, some baby carrots, a piece of onion, hot pepper, and 2 plum tomatoes. So I'm going to chop that, and we'll season the meat. Two tablespoons green seasoning, and the green seasoning has darkened, but it's still pretty good. I had it in the freezer. 2 teaspoons of salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, don't knock it, Bria, a teaspoon of my all-purpose seasoning, and about a teaspoon of my adobo. I'm really obsessed with these two, really adds a lot of flavor, and it's all natural. I'm going to give it a toss. I'm not going to add the other ingredients yet. After I truncate, which is cook it in the brown sugar, then we'll add the other ingredients. I'll allow this to sit for about 30 minutes. I need to go check on Leo, play with him a little bit, and then we'll cook. You can marinate this overnight or a couple of days and tightly covered in the refrigerator. All right, it smells really, really good. I did not add garlic because my green seasoning has a lot of garlic. It has a touch of ginger and a lot of thyme, scallions, parsley, and cilantro as well. It smells so good. Medium 5-quart pot over high heat to bring it to temperature. And this pot is on my Amazon store. The link to this pot is on my Amazon store. Check it out. Add a tablespoon of oil, 2 tablespoons. I'm using extra virgin olive oil, but never use extra virgin olive oil when you're stewing because it will smoke. Do as I say, don't do as I do. Heat is on high, it's beginning to smoke. I'm adding the brown sugar in. 4 tablespoons, which is the equivalent to, which is the same as 4 tablespoons, which is the same as a 1/4 cup. It's 12:02 now. I'll let you know how long it takes. Reducing the heat to medium. As you can see, the sugar is beginning to bubble. It's smoking only because of that olive oil. Use vegetable oil or canola oil or probably avocado oil. It's beginning to darken at the sides. We want an even caramelization here. I'm going to stir it. I'm just going to hit the pot a little bit, excuse me. Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît. And watch it carefully. Do not step away from the stove. I'm going to reduce the heat to low and let it take its time. Cook it on low if you're now starting, or if you're an amateur and you haven't done stewing, or you're not really good at stewing. Or if you've had many disasters with stewing, Caribbean stew. Keep the heat on low so you can manage whatever is happening in there. And for the love of all things good, don't use olive oil. You see how that oil is smoking? I'm stirring it for it to cook evenly. Some will stick on the spoon, but do not panic. It's okay. It's beginning to froth and expand. Get your meat ready. It hasn't darkened yet, so don't add the meat. It's on low. If you're starting, use a smaller flame, or smaller burner. It's bubbled, froth, expanded. It's the same color as browning, so I'm going to add in the meat. And that's the sound of a delicious Caribbean stew. Look at that lovely color. Amazing color. I'm just going to stir it. I'm going to raise the heat to medium so that the color will seal in. This begs for some potatoes, so I think I'm going to peel maybe a pound of potatoes just to add a nice luscious gravy at the end. All right, it's going to cook there for a couple of minutes. Allow the color to seal in. I'm going to cover. Well, we'll talk about that when we get to that time. So I'm going to leave it here for about 5 minutes. Some people like adding ketchup at this point. Do that if that makes you happy. But I'm adding carrots, and that will give it a nice natural sweetness. No need for the ketchup at this point. At any point it begins to stick, reduce the heat and cover immediately. But I'm going to cook it. I'm going to reduce the heat to low now. Wait for the sound to dissipate. Nice. Then, now I'll add the cover and allow it to release its natural juices and cook in its natural juices. I'll check every 5 minutes to just make sure that it's not sticking.
40 minutes, starting now.
I will check again in 5 minutes. I totally forgot we were cooking pumpkin rice. In Trinidad we say pumpkin rice. So here it is. Voila. Simply amazing. So it's been sitting for like 15 minutes. Who knows how long. See? This is like how I like my rice. It's not mushy and it's not too grainy. If you like it more grainy than this, then feel free to use less liquid. Right, as it sits, the liquid will evaporate and it will become a little more grainy than this. I don't use that spoon. You don't want to mash it up. Can you see the amazingness here? That's not even a word, but look at that. Look at that. Look at that amazing rice. You've seen the bits of turmeric, you've seen pumpkin, you've seen carrots, some pepper, that delicious, amazing Caribbean pimento pepper. Let's smell. It smells aromatic. And all that thyme. It's good time to eat. All right, I'm going to let it sit, cover it and let it sit. Let it continue to melt in there. Then I'll have a delicious lunch. So easy. I forgot to taste it for you, so let me taste it. I've got my spoon here. I'm not cassaing the whole pot. It means, you know, cassaing. Somebody tell non-Trinidadians what cassaing is. So I'm gonna taste this. That's too much. Yummy. Slight taste of coconut. The yumminess of the pumpkin. Make sure you like pumpkin before you decide to try this. All the seasonings are on point. It's creamy. It's still chewy. It has a good texture. It looks delicious. Tastes delicious. I hope you give this a try. I'm gonna have another spoon with a different spoon. Oh yeah. Yummy. It's been about 5 minutes. It's releasing its natural juices. The heat is on low, but I think I'm going to move this to a smaller burner, a medium burner, because this is just too high and I need it to cook on low. Okay, so I'm going to move it and cover it and allow it to continue to cook. It's been a good 20 minutes since we first put it in the pot. This lamb looks really tough. It's just as tough as oxtail. And because I don't have 3 hours to cook this, or 2 hours, I'm going to put it in the Instant Pot. So I think that would be good exercise for you to learn if you have never used the Instant Pot to make a stew. So I'm going to place it in the pot of the Instant Pot. Take off the stove. I usually let it simmer for a long time, but I still have to make curry, chana and aloo and paratha for my husband for dinner. This is his lunch for tomorrow, Saturday. So I need to get moving and grooving. I also need to do the prep for Sunday. We're making, what are we making? We're making barbecue ribs, a cornbread and coleslaw. I won't be filming that for you because I already have those recipes on the channel. So I'm going to place it in here along with that sauce, that delicious sauce. I'm going to pour it out, lift the pot up and pour it out. See, the good thing with this pot is that the handles don't get too hot. Oops, let me move the camera. Small thing. You know, it was very important for you to see that important step. I'm going to scrape down the pot. We're going to use this pot later on to finish it up. So keep it on the stove, right? I have these lovely chopped veggies. I have the bell pepper, 2 tomatoes, onion, like 2 or 3 baby carrots. I'm going to put all the thyme in because of that polluted air we have. We need to increase the thyme that we're eating. It's very good for your lungs, very good for your respiratory system. I used to have asthma really bad as a child and teenager. And I started using a lot of thyme in my cooking. So here it is. I'm going to give it a stir. It's going to continue to release juices there, so I have to decide whether I'm adding water or not. And I probably am not going to add water. I'm going to let it steam there for, let's see how long. Making up this as we go along. I'm not adding the potatoes yet. I'm going to go meat. Let's do 20 minutes. Let's say 22 minutes. We'll see, and we'll add the potatoes later on. The air has released, and now it's time to check on it, just for the tenderness. That was the primary purpose of adding it here, placing it here to cook. It's tender. I wouldn't say that all the flavors have melted. It has softened. I'm going to put the potatoes in now. You see, we didn't add any liquid, and it's good. I'm going to put the potatoes in and cook it for another 10 minutes, and I'll finish it on the stove. It's a lot of steps, but it's necessary to get the best flavor out of this lamb. I'll just add another teaspoon of salt. 2 scallions, a little bit of oregano, a little quarter of a baby carrot. I just had it laying around, so I added it, and I'm going to mix it and place it back for 10 minutes to allow the potato to cook. I'm removing the thyme sprigs. Out. I think 6 minutes will do. Let's see. The chana and aloo for my husband is done for his dinner. I'm just going to knead some flour for paratha. And this is just an FYI. This has nothing to do with the recipe we've been making or the recipes we've been making. So yummy. I already have a canned chana and aloo recipe that I have yet to post, so I'll try to work on that for you. The potatoes have softened. I'm going to place it in the pot now and cook it on the stove. Probably not necessary, but my husband does not like food cooked in an instant pot, and he's going to know that I cooked it in the instant pot because the flavors is not going to be the same, so I'll finish it in the pot. So I'll finish it on the stove. It's really tender and delicious. So good. I'm just going to stir it just a little so that some of these, at least one potato, will break up and create a nice thick gravy, and then we're done. We'll eat. So good. The whole idea is just to have a larger vessel to mix it in so all the flavors will meld together. Taste and add more salt or pepper or anything else that's necessary at this point. So yummy! Turn off the stove. And that's all there is to it, my sweet friends. Delicious stewed lamb and a flavorful pumpkin rice. I hope you've enjoyed being in the kitchen with me today or learned something new. If you have, please like, share, leave a lovely comment below, and subscribe for more. Until next time, stay safe, be well, cook, share, and love. Bye-bye.